What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. Welcome to my Week 5 waiver wire pickups video. In Week 4, Colin Kaepernick put up a terrible performance against the Green Bay Packers. The only time I would have actually considered starting the guy. Towards the end of the Monday Night Football game, Calvin Johnson fumbled just inches away from a touchdown that would have likely won the game. And in other news, the Texans are back to playing quarterback roulette. In this video, we're going to go over all the waiver wire pickups for Week 5. Then I'm going to go to the hashtag AskTheBrain section where I answer the Twitter question of the week. And at the end, I have a question for you where I'll be giving away a free prize, so make sure you stay tuned for the entire video. The teams that are on bye this week are the Panthers, Dolphins, Vikings, and Jets. My top 3 quarterbacks to pick up this week are Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Sam Bradford. Rivers should be owned in every league. Just about the same goes for Eli Manning. I like how the Giants play. I think they're a great team. And I like how they run their offense. You don't really know who they're going to go to. It's not just ODB every play. And Sam Bradford, man, the Eagles are hard to predict. They're up and down. They're doing pretty bad this year. But I think Sam Bradford is still worth a roster spot on your team, at least as a QB2. He's being dropped in a lot of leagues. In deeper leagues or dual quarterback leagues, or if you really need a QB2, look for Jay Cutler. Yeah, it's crazy. Blake Bortles is actually better than a lot of quarterbacks who were drafted this year. Nick Foles, I think the Rams are going to have to throw the ball to keep up with the Packers when they play in Green Bay this week. Famous Jameis, Michael Vick, Kirk Cousins. Look to see if Deshaun Jackson is going to be back this week. And if you're in a really deep league, really desperate, there's Brandon Weeden. Kind of like the Rams, it seems like the Dallas Cowboys are going to have to throw the ball a lot to come back in the fourth quarter. They play the Patriots. For running backs, you want to pick up Andre Ellington. A lot of these guys have been dropped in a lot of leagues. He's a huge injury risk, but he's definitely worth a pickup. He's going to still be used in that Cardinals offense. You also have Tevin Coleman. Now, a guy who's going to be taking a huge hit with the emergence of Devontae Freeman, but he's still going to be used. They can't just run Devontae Freeman 30 times a game. He will still be used, and he'll still definitely deserving of a roster spot on your team. I see him getting at least 8 to 10 touches a game. Now, Tevin Coleman in PPR leagues, yeah, he's gonna take a huge hit because Freeman is definitely the pass catching back, and now we know he's definitely just the better back in Atlanta. Duke Johnson's an awesome pickup. A lot of guys gave up on him. I drafted him late in the draft. I didn't give up on him. He's had 15 receptions the last 2 games, so he's really good, especially in PPR leagues. And Crowell has been underwhelming, to say the least. Darren McFadden, he's going to get a lot of playing time now that Dunbar is out, and just about everyone on the Cowboys is out. They have a lot of injuries, and Darren McFadden is going to see a lot of snaps. Rashad Jennings has actually been dropped in a lot of leagues. He's still worth a roster spot. It's hard to find running backs out there, and you just can't drop Rashad Jennings like that. Ronnie Hillman's basically splitting carries with C.J. Anderson. He may very well emerge as the starting running back, or it may be sort of like a running back by committee or a 50-50 platoon, which is very likely. So he's definitely worth an acquisition. And check the status of LaShawn McCoy and also Carlos Williams of the Buffalo Bills running backs. Now, if both those guys are out, they seem like they're out, Anthony Booby Dixon is definitely worth a pickup. And for deeper formats, you can take a flyer on Christine Michaels, also Theo Riddick. I talk about this guy a lot. He was a sleeper running back when going into the draft that I talked about. He's great in PPR leagues, also in PPR formats. You have Charles Sims, Reggie Bush, Chris Thompson on Washington, and Ahmad Bradshaw may very well get picked up by week 6 by a team. This is when a lot of teams are going to have injuries at the running back position. He recently had a meeting with the Colts, so he could be worth a flyer. And also Roy Halou in super deep leagues could be worth a look at in PPR leagues because Tywan Jones was hurt. He also scored a touchdown in week 4. For wide receivers, I'm beating this guy to death as a sleeper pickup during the draft, and he's really emerging. Roddy White is out, and Leonard Hankerson is in. Also, Deshaun Jackson is going to be coming back from his injury. If not this week, probably next week. Kamar Aiken, the Ravens have nobody else to throw to. I think this is going to be their number 1 receiving option, and he's definitely worth a pickup if you need a wide receiver. Allen Hurns, going to be a top waiver wire pickup this week. likely a top 5, maybe even a top 3 waiver wire pickup this week. And he is worth it. He's going to be good. A lot of teams don't have 2 great cornerbacks. They usually have one, and that one could very well be on Allen Robinson, like we saw when they just played the Colts. Vontae Davis was on Robinson, and Allen Hurns went off. You also have Eddie Royal. Travis Benjamin is emerging as the #1 wide receiver on the Browns. Willie Snead on the Saints. A lot of people have given up on Aguilar, but I believe this wide receiver is going to be a huge part of the Eagles if they want to succeed. I see him having a pretty good second half of the season. He should start playing more and seeing more targets every week. I think it's a bad decision to have dropped Aguilar if you did already, but if somebody else did, go ahead and pick him up if you have room on your roster. I think this is a good wide receiver 4 or 5 on your team. Sort of how we saw Cordero Patterson when we drafted him. Well, not me, but you may have drafted him or thought how he was going to pan out the past few years. We're kind of seeing with Tavon Austin. He's just being heavily involved in the offense. He's excellent return guy. He's catching balls, taking carries, and he's making plays. Martavis Bryant is returning from injury. Not too excited about this guy. We see a little bit of emergence of Darius Hayward-Bay. He's really fast. Marcus Whedon may also still see some snaps. And you have Michael Vick playing. So Martavis Bryant is nothing more than a bench player at this point. You definitely don't want to start him. I really like Seth Roberts. The Raiders don't use the tight end position that much, so Seth Roberts in the slot is a decent pickup. And my last wide receiver to pick up is Dontrell Inman of the San Diego Chargers. Now, if they have a lot of injuries over there to the receiving core, and if some of these players are going to be out, make sure you keep tabs on that, monitor the situation, then Inman is going to make for a really good acquisition. There are a lot of tight ends out there to pick up. Charles Clay, surprisingly not owned in a lot of leagues. Antonio Gates is coming back from waivers. Now, a lot of people have asked me the same exact question. Should I drop Delaney Walker and pick up Antonio Gates? It's crazy how many people ask the same exact question. And I said no. Now, Gates is a very good chance he'll do better than Walker, but maybe not by that much. Now, you're taking a huge risk on an older tight end who's been suspended. I really like him. I see him having a great game. Phillip Rivers is an excellent quarterback, but there's just too much risk to drop, let's say, a top 7 tight end to pick up Antonio Gates. So I would hang on to Walker, but if he's available and you need a tight end, definitely pick up Antonio Gates. Julius Thomas is going to be returning really soon from that injury. Monitor his status. Gary Barnidge, yes, he's the real deal. May not be a top 5 or top 10 tight end, but he's definitely worthy of a tight end 1 spot some weeks. Now, Larry Donnell is going to see a lot more targets now that Daniel Feltz, the other tight end on the Giants, he's out for the rest of the season. With Jeff Janis not seeing a lot of playing time, Jordy Nelson done for the year, of course. Injury to Devontae Adams. Ty Montgomery is good, but still young and inexperienced. Richard Rodgers is emerging and is very good tight end 2 for your team. And if you're in a super deep league, look for Owen Daniels. He's being used in clutch situations. Also, Derek Carrier, if Jordan Reed is out. Jordan Reed is highly unlikely to play this week, and I think 3 tight ends are out on Washington, so Derek Carrier can be one of those sneaky starts. And also look for Tim Wright on the Lions if Ebron is going to miss some time. For defenses, my top 4 defenses to pick up this week are the Chiefs defense going up against the Bears. Monitor the status of Alshon Jeffrey. Also, the Giants going up against the Niners. This is a high upside play. Giants are heavily favored to win. Niners are playing like they're one of the worst teams right now. Very well could be. Then you got the Ravens going against the Browns. I like the Bengals going against the Seahawks in what could be a low-scoring game. And also, the Seahawks offensive line has not been playing that great. Bengals defense has been playing solid. Also, look for the Packers. They're playing at home and should crush the Rams. At least that's what Vegas is telling me. And I mean, how are you going to really stop Aaron Rodgers? Also, the Patriots, they're playing Dallas. They're heavily favored to win. Dallas has a lot of injuries. They're a really good defense to pick up. I like the Falcons going against Washington. Some more picks that are not as popular are the Jaguars, the Bucks. Those 2 are playing each other. And we have the Titans going up against the Bills. Of course, I like the Bills defense. They're not on this list because they're owned in just about every league. My top 8 kickers for this week are Chandler Catanzaro. I talk about him just about every week. He should be owned in every league. Josh Lambo of the San Diego Chargers, also Josh Brown, Cairo Santos of the Chiefs. Then we have Zach Hawker. And in deeper leagues, you can try for Dan Carpenter, Caleb Sturgis, or even Ryan Suckup if you're really desperate for a kicker. Whether on Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, if you want your question answered on the video, make sure you use hashtag AskTheBrain. Now let's go to the Twitters and answer the viewer question of the week. Sal asked, how do you feel about Freeman with Coleman coming back? Obviously, he's not getting his starting job back. Hashtag AskTheBrain. I still really like Freeman. Now his value is going to take a hit. He's going to get a little bit less carries, see a little bit less playing time, but he's still going to be good. Still going to be an RB1, even in non-PPR leagues. I really like him in PPR leagues. He's the pass catching back. But I think a good option that you can explore is to sell high on Freeman once Coleman comes back. Now, a lot of fantasy owners know Coleman's coming back and that Freeman's value will take a hit. So wait for Coleman to come back. Hopefully he has one or two good games still, then sell high on him. I think you can get a lot of value for him if you sell high. Don't trade him for anything cheap either. Don't sell him for cheap. So that's what I would do. You can try to sell high on him now, but that's my ultimate suggestion. Wait for Coleman to come back for one or two games. Have Freeman get some good games in, then sell high on him. For last week's contest, Russell Corey, you're the winner. Congratulations. You guessed Ryan Mallett, and he put up the least amount of fantasy points out of all the starting quarterbacks. So congrats. I'll leave a comment, reply back to your comment. You just got to give me your information, just follow the instructions, and you'll be getting your prize real soon. Now, I have a question for you. As you know, Antonio Gates is coming back from his 4-game suspension. How many fantasy points and PPR scoring will Antonio Gates get for week 5? Leave a comment below. Make sure you use a decimal, for example, 10.1. And the winner, the person with the closest answer, will get some stickers as well as some Fantasy Couch shades. So make sure you leave a comment below with your answer, and I'll let you know my projections for Antonio Gates. And that's all the time we have for this video. Make sure you guys click here for more information about our pink fantasy football championship belts. Or you can follow the link below in the description. For every pink belt sold, we'll be donating $10 to breast cancer organizations. Also, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be coming out with weekly waiver wire videos, of course, and also my DFS picks every week. I'll see you guys on the next video. In week 4, Colin's sacker pick was a terrible play. In week 4, Colin Kaepernick made for some grumpy fantasy owners. If you started calling Crappernick, he probably pooped on your fantasy team.